Forbes India presents M-Connect, powered by Marmo Solutions.
Welcome to M-Connect, celebrating architectural excellence and innovation. In this special series, we bring together inspiring architects with bold ideas and brave designs. Is architecture more than just form and function? Can design challenge the status quo and serve those who've been unheard? All this and more as we discuss the theme Architecture as Activism with a remarkable panel. Join me in welcoming Sumit Dhawan, the founder and principal architect at Cityspace 82 Architects. Sumit is well known for his aesthetic sensibility and eclectic facade styles, some of which have taken him to the homes of celebrities. Then we have Manmeet, the principal architect at The Arc. Manmeet is also an artist and avid traveler with a deep-rooted passion for design. She merges her love for art and exploration to build meaningful spaces. And finally, we have Jaskaran, the principal architect at Fab Studio. He has worked on varied projects across the globe, from high-end homes to restaurants to airport lounges. Welcome to the show, all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you think architecture and activism go hand in hand? If so, how? Sumit, we'll begin with you.
I think when we talk about activism, it is to do with social, economic, cultural, environmental process, which is a little different from what we typically do in architecture, wherein our core focus is towards the aesthetics and the functionality of the project. When we talk about activism, typically I would say it actually starts from macro level, wherein projects like urban scale projects can be thought of. Having said that, when we talk about projects in which you have micro level human intervention, there I would say an architect's job would be to make sure that the process what he is following is very, very sensitive. It is to do with involving each and every human, starting from client to a level wherein even the staff or the housekeeping member is also involved in, followed by what he is using, the kind of materials, the impact which is going to be there on the environment is very, very important. So I think all in all, to me, activism in architecture would be to do with sensitivity in the kind of practice what you are trying to do and the kind of consequences it's going to have on the world or at the global level.
Right, the consequence it will have. Jaskaran, your view on this?
You know, I think the core skill and core emotion required for both activism and architecture, I think is remarkably similar. What is activism? Identifying what is around us and envisioning something better. I think that is exactly what designers, architects are supposed to do. Definitely what Sumit said, it's at a different scale. But that the right word which comes to mind is durdrishyata, or a flatter version of an English would be a long-range vision. So an activist sees a better future, and so does an architect. And through their chosen medium, they're trying to bring that change to reality and to manifestation. So definitely, I don't think we are at conflict with activism. We are very much part of it. It's just a different medium of expression.
Right. Manmeet, what is your view?
Well, for me, the architecture and the activism, for some part it goes hand in hand, for some parts it's not. So even at The Arc, we are doing very high-rise commercials, the villas and everything. But somehow we always get the low housing also, so the urban planning. I think activism is like just taking a stand where your client approaches you and he said, ki, you know, we need to do this. Probably if I give an example, the hospital we are doing or the hospitalities. So I think the client is the first user. So as an architect, we have a responsibility to think about the end user. The end user is like patient. So like if it's coming here in this, the aesthetics does not come first. The functionality, the utility, the commercials, and then the aesthetics comes. And some projects, the aesthetics comes prior. If I talk about the hospitalities, designing a restaurant and all, then there come the functionality and utility. So this is how it works.
Right. Sumit, I want to ask you that have you ever received a client brief which didn't go with your social convictions, and how did you resolve that?
Certainly, I mean, most of the time, whenever the client will approach us, he'll have one thing in mind that obviously we need to follow the building bylaws, and to follow it, I mean, most of our real estate projects will be short of time, and they would want us to kind of release the drawings right from the word go, which sometimes is a little challenging as an architect, especially when you're trying to do something which is in favor of society. So one very good example in which we were working for our real estate consultant, in which we were supposed to develop a housing project wherein a lot of families are part of it. We as architects wanted to segregate the movement pattern. When I say movement, I wanted to make sure that everything is inclusive, yet it is segregated, because you don't want your children to play where cars are moving, or you don't want the service to happen where the kids are playing. So because of that, I personally felt that there was a very important need of podium in the project, which was against the building bylaws of Haryana. So there we kind of insisted the client that it is better if we move to the authorities to make sure that this is something which is important for the society and it should become part of our building bylaws. By doing so, we were able to segregate the services which were happening at the basement level, followed by the car movement ground level, and because of the podium, we were able to achieve a walking track and the green patch for the kids, which were like vehicular movement free area. And theoretically, it made a lot of sense, not just to me, even to the client. Initially, we had to kind of fight a little bit because it was kind of taking a lot of time getting the approvals from authority. But I think eventually when we presented the concept to authority, they were pretty happy, and that's how the concept of podium was applied not just to our project but even to the whole of the Haryana. And today I feel very happy that the same concept is being used by multiple people in Haryana. And I think as an architect, for me, I feel very proud that when you kind of fight for something and you are able to achieve something for the society, I think that is where that sensitivity part comes in. So I think all in all, the project is still going on, and we are pretty happy with the kind of results we had it from it.
So this is also an act of activism only, and you took it to the authorities and you made it happen.
Not just for their project, for every future project. That's wonderful.
Jaskaran, have you also taken a stand through your work, through architecture?
Actually, it's not that I think any one of us is in conflict with the other stakeholders. Wonderful example which Sumit also made. So, you know, largely the debate of friction in our profession happens because of the time lag. We're not talking about something which exists in reality today. You're always talking about an idea and whether which idea will work better. So the gap between the intent and the manifestation, that is where the debate lies. Once the building or the space comes up, that day the debate ends. It is for all of us to experience it, make our own decisions about it, and then, like I said, there is very little to debate about. Perhaps the real job is to find, first of all, what we are trying to achieve, and secondly, like they've been able to do successfully, is to convey what all advantages we see once you're able to implement those things. You know, and it's not, like I said, it's not about the conflict, because to be fair to a building promoter, when they are creating a project, there is just too much on their minds. You know, a life for many people gets intertwined with the building. It could be their homes, could be their workspaces, could be their mode of transport. So an architect, a socially responsible architect, I think should take out the time to think about all the lives their building, the spaces that they make are going to touch, and try to make sure their experiences are also very satisfactory, their emotions are taken care of. We have a lot of examples from the past where perhaps that could not be achieved because we're still in a growing country. But because we have all those examples to learn from, it becomes an even bigger responsibility for us to do better in future. So I don't honestly see a conflict, I see a gap, and it's a gap which, given enough effort, it can be filled.
So doing better for the future, Manmeet, tell me, you spoke about housing, you spoke about hospitals. Do you use design for people who aren't at the table, for marginalized communities?
Yes, like if I talk about the marginalized communities, so like in our societal norms, if I talk about, so you know the marginal community is always taken at the edge. So talking about their location or the facilities they have been given. So yes, we've been doing the small housing project, so that's a government housing project. So you know the major concern was to, like, when you see the people over there, it's a very small housing, the people are just sitting around. So talking about this, the activism, we understood the project first. We had that feel by going at the site, seeing the people, how their lifestyle is, you know, where they're moving, they're not, they're chilling around, they have the thresholds where they're sitting. So what we have done, so we have increased the plinth level so they can have increased verandas with the hangings, like cantilevered hangings, so that the space can be confined as per the government policies, and plus they can have their own communities, they have the get-togethers and all. And the secondly, what we are doing is, we've been the part of the urban designing for the Jalandhar city. So we have done roundabouts, and we are doing many more. So my client has proposed us, like, so this is a very low budget thing. One chunk is very low budget, and we have to design the under bridges as well. So there's a particular limit for the funds, and of course the approvals from the DCs and the corporations. So we propose them for the marginal communities, if I talk about the underpasses especially. So we propose them an area to sit down, the benches to sit down, but we made sure we have made that benches in such a way that it's only a place for the sit down, not for the people to misuse for the lying down or sleeping. So the temperature is touching 50 degrees. So we tried making such a low site waterfalls so that the birds can come over, the stray dogs can come, so drink water and all. So these kinds of things we are doing it. And we are taking part of the inclusivity in the activism of architecture.
Right.
Yeah.
So talking of inclusivity now, Sumit, have you ever worked on a project where you haven't said much but you've expressed solidarity or dissent with something that you believe in?
Yeah, I mean, I was lucky enough to work on a project wherein, again, one of my clients who originally belonged from Tavru, it's like that's his native place. It's like a small village in Haryana again. And today he's become very big. He owns one of the real estate companies. Now the idea was to get away from this city life and do something which is within the city and which brings him the vibes of what he used to have it in his childhood. He told me to develop a farm which was more like a weekend home for him, very close to his place. Fortunately, it was that piece of land was touching his existing house. But the idea was to create something very different from what he's been using otherwise. So he said that please do something in which the original materials what we used to have in my village can be used here. So he proposed that gobar ka hupla to be used. And as an architect, my approach was a little different, wherein I told him that would be too literal and it might not gel with today's architecture wherein we have technology available. So I proposed him, instead of going for those gobar ka hupla, let's go in for compressed earth blocks followed by stabilized earth walls. Very similar to what he wanted. The aesthetics was very similar and the consequences were much better than what we otherwise use in villages. So again, that behaved like a good insulating wall, followed by that softness which is normally seen in vernacular architecture. So that project was something which is very different from what we do normally in cities. Having said that, that wasn't the end to it. We thought of using ferrocement again, which is almost it's contributing beautifully with respect to environmental consequences. It's consuming almost 1/6 the cement and other building materials as opposed to RCC. Followed by, because it was a 5-acre site, we had proposed a small reservoir which was behaving like a lake. All the groundwater was recharged because of that. So it was like a mini sustainable hub, very similar to what we used to see in Auroville. I did my internship from Auroville. So that is where I think that was the original thought, from where the whole process started for this particular project, and today he's using it extensively and he's very happy with it. So I think somehow whatever we learn, whatever we feel, we always try and inculcate in all our designs, be it an urban level project or a micro scale project like this.
Jaskaran, tell me that, do you feel architecture can bring about social change, either through your work or if you've seen it happen around the world? There are instances.
I'm a big believer of that, and perhaps that's why I find myself in this profession. See, we are all emotion driven. Perhaps even our basic survival instinct is also emotion driven. So the built environment affects our emotions. The materials that are around us definitely affect our emotion. Even most importantly, the people and the state that they are in has a very big impact on us. So better design spaces, better design buildings, I mean, make a world of a difference. Certain buildings, certain spaces that we designed, which I'm very sure had a good impact. So we've done some schools, and what I felt was important for schools was having abundance of natural light, having having a good expanse for the kids to walk more freely, well-proportioned spaces. And we felt, if it's such a positive environment, the inhibitions that we used to have, at least in my childhood with our teachers, well, there was a huge sense of respect, but it was respect also attached with fear. So somehow I felt, that's not the right ideal way the relationship would move forward. And I can say with surety, the relationship which I see with the schools that we've been able to design, it's more open. There is respect, but it is attached with also a sense of friendship. And more importantly, approachability. Same thing one can apply for perhaps good offices. I think the challenge has been that we as a society have differentiated between who is being paid to come into a building and who is paying to come into a building.
Huge difference.
So a good example for me to make could be for hotels, because that's something that I've been part of. So if you look at the older hotel, like I said, the staff areas were used to be in complete shambles. It's starting to improve over the years. A very clear example of the success of well-designed back areas would be, maybe I shouldn't be taking names, but maybe the hotel which is supposed to have the best service across the country is the one which has the best designed staff areas. And that clearly reflects in their service, and that's the story behind their success. So I see an improvement in this regard for offices, definitely, because it was expected people are being paid to come to an office. So I don't think a lot of attention was given to their comfort and to their mental well-being. That's changing. In some offices, perhaps in our own offices where we've designed, I see the team bonding is much better. The interaction is much better. People, also I think become more open to constructive criticism. Because I think that feeling that no, they have been well taken care of is there. Anything which comes as a criticism after that is taken much better. But if we put them in spaces which are ignored there just because they have to be there, purely functional, I think then that level of trust isn't there. So I'm a great believer of how spaces, buildings really affect people, their relationships with other people, and eventually that is what we're hoping for. A society with better relationships, better people, happier people. And I think definitely buildings and good spaces can deliver that.
That actually brings me to my next question, Manmeet, that he's spoken about how spaces can make people feel better. Essentially, that is the crux of what he's saying. So do you think there are systemic issues, be it in education, be it in housing, that design should provoke?
Yes, it has to be. So like he mentioned for the schools, like the design should provoke. So I think being responsible architects of the society, we should make sure, telling about his school example, all the classrooms and everything should be well lit for the kids coming over here. And like if I getting the houses done, so each and every room is well lit. So, all these things should be the basics. Then comes the aesthetics for me. And the end result should be like what we at the Arc do is we design spaces, we design homes, we design the dream places, and you know what, then what we are expecting as an award is like when the people come to us and says, yes, this is what we need. This space understands us. So that is what we achieve then.
Right.
I think one thing which I'll like to add to Jaskaran's comment would be that it's very important to have a collaborative approach. I mean, the way he says, I think normally people will try and ignore criticism. I think it should be other way around. There's a lot more to what we are taught in architectural schools, and I think most of the learning which I personally feel came to me is from practical learning. And when he was talking about back of house areas, I think the same concept is applied from a micro level project like maybe a 3 BHK or a 1 BHK or a studio followed till the urban level project. So even when we people are designing villas, I mean these days it feels so happy and so content that we people are equally giving importance to housekeeping areas followed by services which earlier used to be ignored. And today everyone understands that having a proper electrical room followed by a decent space for gensets and other services is equally important, because that's like the heart of the, if they are not there, let's say if the house staff is not there, the whole system might not work.
It'll
So
collapse.
I think today that inclusion is very, very important, and as he rightly said, today every architect or most of the sensitive architects are making sure that the process is being followed correctly. It is not just the brief which is important, it is the things which are not there in brief which is more important than the brief.
So you do believe in justice through architecture in terms of what you're building, who you're building for, what you're leaving behind?
Certainly, I mean, I think it automatically says it all. I mean, you can certainly, I mean, you can bring in a lot of things to your project by adding a lot of collaborative learning which was already there.
Lot of learnings there for young architects watching you today. Thank you so much for that thought-provoking conversation. This deliberation has once again reminded us that architecture can be a quiet protest, a radical gesture, or even a space for dignity. Buildings can be more than just objects. They can have a purpose and a conscience. With that, it's a wrap on this presentation of M-Connect, celebrating architectural excellence and innovation. I'm Ambika Sharma. Thank you so much for watching.
Forbes India presents M-Connect, powered by Marmo Solutions.